Ian Trottier here for Discussions of Truth. We are at We Can Act in Salt Lake City, and I have the very wonderful Wendy Rogers with me. Wendy, it's nice to meet you, sit down with you. For those that may be listening and aren't familiar with your work, would you please make an introduction for
Well,
yourself?
it's great to be with you. I'm a retired Air Force Lieutenant Colonel. I was one of the first women pilots in the Air Force that flew heavy transport jets, C-141s. My husband and I served 20 years alongside one another, active duty. We've been married 43 years. We have 2 adult children, 6 grandchildren, and we have Arizona as our home. Now, I represent northern Arizona from Flagstaff. We also, of course, have to have a home down near the Capitol in Phoenix. And I'm here in Salt Lake City for the We Can Act conference so that we conservatives can come together who want to preserve the freedom of our country. And I had the distinction of being able to present yesterday with my colleague, Senator Sonny Borelli, who's also a rural legislator from Arizona, about the Arizona audit, the deep dive cyber forensic audit of Maricopa County. Neither one of us actually represents Maricopa County per se, but that's the most populated county in Arizona. That is where Phoenix is. And so we did the cyber forensic audit of 2.1 million ballots, which concluded essentially with the big reveal on September 24th.
Wendy, I just had Dr. Frank sit down with me, and that was a wonderful discussion that I had with him. The basis of what his message was, and through his understanding of the algorithms and the hacking he was able to do, and the predictability is very basic. The message was very basic in that the voting system that's not connected to the internet is the one that is the most accurate. So he's drawing parallels of a county that didn't have any internet involvement and was just balloting. What can you tell the listeners right now as to what happened in Maricopa County, what your findings have been, what they should be knowing? What did they know about what happened, and what do you know now about Maricopa County?
We know that there were several inexplicable anomalies, tens of thousands of ballots that were possibly corrupted from one way or another. Envelopes that the ballots were sent in were not signed or had just a chicken scratching of a signature on the envelope. Yet they were counted, and they should not have been. There were thousands of people who voted from outside the county. That's wrong. There were thousands of people who voted who could have possibly been dead or illegal immigrants or people who voted who had registered past the registration deadline. So tens of thousands of ballots. The number that's floating around now is between 50 and 60,000 ballots that are almost irrefutably corrupt. When you then look at the fact that Biden, quote-unquote, won by 10,300 ballots, it's time to decertify what we turned in January to the federal government. I am the first state legislator who has called to decertify, which says what we handed into you, federal government, back in January, we now find to have been inaccurate. It doesn't have to be a 100% smoking gun, open and shut case. Now you ask me, well, where is all this information now that was revealed on September 24th? It is in the hands of the Arizona Attorney General Brnovich. And I think he has enough information, especially due to the fact that he has visual imagery of 3 different human beings sitting in front of computers, deleting information in anticipation of subpoenas. And so I want perp walks, I want arrests, and I want something done. Sure, it's going to take months to tease out all the fine data points and have all the final conclusions, but that doesn't preclude the fact that arrests can't be made and perp walks can't happen now. And so I have been very emphatic, adamant, vociferous in wanting him to do his job now. He is the chief law enforcement officer. my constituents think that he has plenty of data points to do that. I don't work for the Senate. I don't work for the governor. I don't work for lobbyists. I work for my constituents in northern Arizona, and they are hopping mad.
Okay, so Wendy, here's a question here that seems to be real accurate. We've got Donald Trump, right, talking about deep state. We got him talking about fake news. I think that woke up a lot of Americans as to just how severe the corruption is running inside of our country and in our borders. It's out of control now with an illegitimate administration. Deep state fake news. This is my question to you, Wendy. As a woman that has served her country faithfully, as a woman that is now serving her state, demanding transparency, how does a politician such as yourself remain honest? I know it sounds like a non-difficult question.
I'll tell you how I do. I have to fundraise to get elected. Yet I don't take one penny from lobbyists. I'm the only politician I know who can say that. Fist bump. They send me checks, I send them back. They ask for appointments, I don't grant them. I don't do kumbaya, hi, how you doing appointments. You have something that you need Senator Rogers to do, you give me a tasker, I get it done. I'm a connector. I know where to go to get expertise to weigh in on a problem. And so I probably am cut from a little bit of a different cloth. I knocked doors. I knocked 17,000 doors to get elected. I raised $1 million, all from private donors. This is a state Senate race I'm talking about, Northern Arizona. It was a $4 million race. Soros and Bloomberg spent wildly against me. And it was purportedly a toss-up race, they told me. You've got to win. We have such a slim majority in the state Senate. I not only won, I won by 8 points because I outworked my opponent and I showed up and I knocked doors, and my district knows who I am. And it's a huge district. It covers half of northern Arizona, from Williams, where it is the gateway to the Grand Canyon, all the way over to the Petrified Forest in Holbrook, down through Snowflake Taylor, Payson, Heber, Overguard, over to the Verde Valley, Cottonwood, Cornville, Clarkdale, Camp Verde, all of Sedona, and all of Flagstaff.
Prescott?
No, Prescott is President Karen Fann. She's next door to me. And so it's part of the Verde Valley, though. My point in saying all that, if you're at all familiar with the Arizona landscape, is my constituents are hardscrabble, Western ethos. We don't want Phoenix telling us up here in northern Arizona what to do and how to act. We want you, Senator Rogers, to get yourself down there to that Capitol, represent us, and get those people arrested who are infringing on our freedoms.
Okay, so how does that happen?
You have me
Senator,
bearing down on my social media platforms day after day against the Arizona Attorney General. You have me, even though we're not in session, but when we do come back into session in January, there are several bills that I'll be sponsoring to restore election integrity. But during this so-called interim, when we're not in session, there's still a lot that should be done that I am doing. For example, I want everyone to go to my website, wendyrogers.org, Wendy like the hamburgers, Rogers like Mr. Rogers, ROGERS.org, wendyrogers.org, and on my landing page in the upper right corner, you will see a link. Click on that link and sign as an individual on a petition, a national petition that says you want to decertify the presidential election of November 2020. It is a national symbolic petition. I now have over 1.1 million people who have signed that petition from all over the United States. So that is what an individual can do. Secondly, and even maybe more importantly, If you know a state senator or a state representative from your state or a neighboring state, hopefully more than one or two, who are all about the restoration of election integrity, who are all about keeping our freedoms, tee that up. Send me their names along with your name to this email address. Team, T-E-A-M, team at wendyrogers.org. You send an email. Hi, I'm Mary Smith from Oregon, and I have 4 state legislators who I know are all about election integrity. Here are their names. I'm infoing them at the top of this email, and I want them to sign your letter to audit all 50 states, because everyone, you realize it is the state legislatures that are endowed with the plenary power from the U.S. Constitution to oversee the U.S. presidential election. It is we state legislators upon whose shoulders this falls. The founding fathers of our country were very wise, and they knew that it was we state legislators who are closest to the people. So when someone like me, a state senator or a state representative, takes an oath, that person needs to realize what is on their shoulders today. This is now up to us. This is up to the states. This is up to the states to push back against the federal government, but moreover, fulfill our obligation that was chartered to us by the founders in the U.S. Constitution to make it right on the U.S. presidential election. So I have almost 200 signers on my letter. It's on wendyrogers.org. It's called the Audit 50 States letter. These are state senators, state representatives. In some states, they're called delegates, like in Virginia and Maryland and West Virginia. And I have signers from so many states who understand, who get it, that we are on a very precarious precipice.
Wendy, as we wind down here, and I thank you for taking your time with me, discuss your truth, very grateful. What is your outlook here for the country moving forward? Where does America, where does your country stand a year from now? You're doing some amazing work, and it's echoing, and it's happening. And you just said this is the power that an individual can do. So listeners, hopefully, receive that and act on that.
Yes.
Where's the country a year from now?
I look at it as a day-by-day struggle. My goal, my charge is twofold: get to the truth of 2020 and fix it for 2022. This is a day-by-day struggle. This is an inch-by-inch protracted combat, okay? So I don't know where we'll be, but if we don't work hard every day, and that means get me these state legislators, team at wendyrogers.org, sign that petition as an individual, keep this discussion in the forefront of the national consciousness as we move the needle. Rasmussen says now well over 50% understand that there was corruption. This is on us. We're the solution. We're the plan. And you're brave. You're brave for having this platform to keep our First Amendment alive, because all of the people who listen to this and every other podcaster add up to more than the followership of Fox News. There are more of us than there are of them. We need to take heart with that. We need to coalesce, build, work inch by inch. That's how I look at it.
Wonderful. Some great words, and I appreciate your time and your very nice comments. Let's leave listeners with some final thoughts moving forward. You're going to get back into Arizona. You're traveling the country. You're or whatever you're doing. What's the next task? What are you going to do? Obviously, you're preserving election integrity. What's the next thing you're working on? And some final comments for listeners to walk away with.
I'm doing everything I can to add to the signers of my Audit 50 States letter. My resources tab on wendyrogers.org is a day-to-day nuts and bolts help to people who are applying for religious exemptions, medical exemptions, because we're in this fix where we need help. If you're applying for a religious exemption, I have a family member who is, don't just do it on your own. Get legal help. So on my resources tab, because of people I meet at these conferences, I've been able to cobble together a really pretty impressive list of helpers. Legal scholars, really, medical experts to whom people can go to get help because they feel alone. And that way we coalesce and I believe there's a reawakening in America, and we just have to have heart and work at it every day. So keep the faith, keep the discussion in the forefront, and get me those names and sign up on my website, and we just have to continue fighting.
Ladies and gentlemen, Wendy Rogers.
Thank you. God bless America.